The Budget and Appropriations Committee is back in session, and we are starting at this time with our Law Department. We're going to get right into a presentation from our City Solicitor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Thank you. Mr. Council President and honorable members of the Council, my name is Ebony M. Thompson, and I have the extreme honor as serving as City Solicitor. Thank you for the opportunity to present the budget for the Department of Law. It is an honor to lead this department in service of the people of Baltimore under the leadership of Mayor Scott and the City Council. The Law Department serves as both sword and shield for Baltimore. We proactively fight for justice and restitution through affirmative litigation, holding bad actors accountable, reclaiming vital resources, and pioneering innovative legal strategies. At the same time, we defend the city against high-stakes lawsuits, unjust claims, and unlawful overreach, preserving the integrity and stability of our local government. Every victory this year has either sharpened the blade or strengthened our armor. This has been the most successful fiscal year in the Law Department's history. We delivered record-breaking financial recoveries, secured major litigation wins, and laid the groundwork for even greater impact in the years ahead. And this work is backed by some of the most dedicated and influential lawyers that could be anywhere but love this city and fight for it every day. My deputy, Stephen Salisbury, Chief of Staff, Matthew Bradford, Chief of Operations, Annika Barnes, and my practice group chiefs who were just absolutely knocked out this year. I'm so grateful for all that you do. We are now poised to launch a revitalized affirmative litigation division led by Sarah Gross, who I can attest has not slept since January 20th. With expanded capacity and reach, and create an environmental litigation practice group to ensure compliance with environmental regulations and protect the city's interests as it relates to environmental issues. This current fiscal year, our affirmative litigation team achieved nearly $700 million in total recoveries. That includes $1.2 million in a settlement with Polymer 80 to help keep ghost guns off our streets. Over $668 million from a series of settlements and a landmark jury verdict against opioid manufacturers and distributors who flooded our communities with deadly drugs, leaving more than 30,000 Baltimoreans still living with opioid use disorder. We are awaiting the ruling on the abatement due by June 6th per the court. And I want to pause here and just make one thing clear. While the Law Department took this fight to the courtroom, this was a complete city win. We could not have done it alone. This victory would not have been possible without the courage of Mayor Scott, who rejected the global settlement and insisted that Baltimore's voice be heard on its own terms. Our city agencies stepped up time and time again, often on extremely short notice, providing us with critical data going all the way back to 2018. And our city council stood strong with us. Mr. Council President, I want to thank you, sir, not just for your leadership, but for personally taking me to meet people impacted by this crisis long before I became city solicitor and before you were council president, and long after the cameras were gone. Those moments became central to the case. Madam Chair and Madam Vice President Middleton and Councilwoman Porter, your steady support in every form helped carry us forward, and the city is deeply grateful. When you're up against dozens of law firms defending some of the biggest companies in big pharma, you need a united front. We appreciate City Council standing with us through the largest lawsuit in our city's history. These extraordinary wins are only the beginning. With 3 new attorneys joining the team and powerful new consumer protection tools passed by this council, led by Council Members Schleifer and Dorsey, we are building a formidable force to pursue those who harm Baltimore residents. We have filed lawsuits against DraftKings and FanDuel for engaging in deceptive and unfair practices by targeting and exploiting vulnerable gamblers in violation of Baltimore's Consumer Protection Ordinance. We have also sued Philip Morris International under city's CPO for their deceptive marketing practices in selling Zyn oral nicotine patches. On the defensive front, 3 of our practice groups, defensive litigation, advice and opinions, and appellate litigation joined forces as an all-star team to secure critical victories before the Supreme Court of Maryland this past fiscal year. 3 of them in a matter of about 2 months. They protected over $500 million in annual revenue that would have been stripped from the city. They preserved the city charter and this council's legislative authority. They enabled the council's charter amendment on the Inner Harbor redevelopment to actually move forward to voters. All of these legal wins were delivered entirely in-house, saving the city both money and time. Additional highlights from our defensive and advice and opinions practice groups include defeating Clear Channel Outdoors refund claim and securing us $2.6 million in unpaid taxes and $170,000 in interest. Supporting efforts to strengthen inclusionary housing in collaboration with City Council, Councilwoman Ramos, and the Scott administration. Our labor and employment group won clean victories in cases where plaintiffs claimed nearly $900,000 in damages. And the result? So far this year, not a single dollar in liability for the city. The workers' compensation team, which manages one of the law department's heaviest caseloads, maintained a fair but firm approach, ensuring legitimate claims were paid and contesting those without merit. The Central Bureau of Investigation handled over 1,400 new liability claims this year, including a notable hotel case where a $400,000 claim was reduced by 94%. The Police Legal Affairs Division achieved major wins that bolstered our legal resilience. In Open Justice Baltimore versus Law Department, the Fourth Circuit upheld our public information request practices, shielding city staff and resources from undue burdens. The team also defended the city in a high-stakes Title VII employment case, avoiding over $300,000 in potential liability and attorney's fees. This fiscal year, the Collections Division recovered more than $12.4 million to date, with another $2.5 million secured through repayment agreements. Our real estate team drove transformational growth, including the $43 million MOED headquarters at 850 West North Avenue, a public-private partnership that will return the building to city ownership at the lease's end. Our contracts division, in collaboration with MORP, help ensure accountability and compliance in the use of the $641 million in ARPA funds. They also modernize procurement systems and train city staff for more effective, lawful operations. Before we dive into the benchmarks and line items, I just want to highlight 2 powerful priorities that also helped to shape our work this year. Number 1, the law department has been instrumental in using technology as a tool for equity. Baltimore is emerging as a national leader in using cutting-edge technology to undo historical inequities. As you know, Mayor Scott and this city council have declared an all-out war on vacant housing, which once peaked at over 17,000 vacant properties, overwhelmingly concentrated in formerly red-line neighborhoods. These vacant homes are not just eyesores. They are public health hazards and obstacles to generational wealth. Mayor Scott challenged us to think boldly to support his revolutionary $3 billion vacant housing plan. In addition to advancing the NREM docket with more positions in partnership with the Circuit Court, DHCD, again, Councilwoman Ramos, and the General Assembly, the Law Department also helped to launch the first in the nation blockchain property deed pilot alongside DHCD, BSIT, and OPI. In partnership with Medici Land Governance with guidance from Princeton University's D Center, we helped record more than 238,000 property deeds on a blockchain, which is a secure, decentralized, and immutable technology. This step improves transparency and efficiency while laying the groundwork for equitable ownership models in communities still burdened by redlining's legacy. And number 2, we have been standing firm against unlawful federal executive orders. Baltimore has joined or led multiple lawsuits to block executive actions that threaten civil rights, public health, and economic opportunity, including diversity, equity, and inclusion executive orders, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau defunding, energy grant cuts, federal workforce reduction. This is not performative litigation. This is protective litigation. We are using every tool at our disposal to ensure that Baltimore's people are not harmed by the ideologically motivated, unlawful executive actions. Because here in Baltimore, we understand that true merit includes diverse perspectives, lived experiences, and innovative thinking, and that a free market cannot thrive where systemic barriers skew access. Mayor Scott and the law department refuse to let a single stroke of a pen erase the progress that generations have fought and bled to secure here in Maryland, in Baltimore, Maryland. While my job is to protect and defend the city, my first oath is as an attorney. It is like our oath as Marines, Councilman Blanchard, to protect and defend our Constitution. As I had the privilege of welcoming and reminding the newest barred attorneys in Maryland before the Supreme Court of Maryland just a few weeks ago, I will say it here again today. The law does not enforce itself. The Constitution does not protect itself. And justice, real justice, depends on those with the courage to stand up and defend it. The law department is not afraid to fight. As Baltimore's sword and shield, we are fighting forward, pursuing justice, equity, and opportunity while defending the city's people, institutions, and resources from those who seek to do harm. I look forward to sharing more details as we continue our testimony through the prepared slides now. This first slide just goes over our org chart and how we are set up in terms of transactions, controversies, police legal affairs, administration, and workers' compensation. This is just a quick fiscal agency overview of what we do in the law department. We're to provide sound legal advice and counsel to its client, the mayor and city council. And the department provides vigorous and successful advocacy of the interests of the mayor and the city council in litigation matters, protects the corporate and financial interests of the mayor and city council, and the negotiation and consummation of contractual, financial, and real estate transactions. And we aggressively defend the mayor and city council in liability cases and furthers the collection efforts of the mayor and city council. Our goals are to provide sound legal advice, not only to the mayor, city council, comptroller, and city agencies, but also to advance the goals of the mayoral action plan and furthering the critical work and support provided by city agencies for communities and citizens in need. This next slide just goes over the administration in terms that we provide the overall direction and control of the law department. Controversies, I just want to highlight some things here, and I spoke about it a little bit in my opening. $750,000 in additional positions to create the environmental litigation team. And these funds will create additional attorney positions that will expand on the city's ability to ensure compliance with environmental regulations and protect the city's interests as it relates to environmental issues. And again, additional $1 million for the expansion of the affirmative litigation team that will be supported by the Opioid Restitution Fund. I do want to remind everyone that our litigation efforts against Purdue, who was also named on the opioid litigation, has been stayed as the whole bankruptcy with Purdue and the Sacklers, but we fully intend to pursue the Sacklers as well once that bankruptcy matter is over. We can pursue that as well. So we still have plenty more opioids to fight. So I just wanted to remind everyone of that fact. And I wanted to go over a couple of these performance measures. The percent of claims responded to within 30 days of receipt, and this is our Central Bureau of Investigations. We're at 100%, I expect 100%, and that's what we have gotten. The percent of payout damages claimed. I talked about that with labor and employment. For this current fiscal year, it was 2%, but as to date, we're knocking on wood, it's zero so far. Number of lawsuits handled, this will fluctuate up and down, but you see how we're around the 200 and we're looking at 250. We were looking at 250, but once we get those numbers in, we will share those as well. But our target is 215 as we implement more risk management skills to hopefully bring those numbers down. I do want to talk about vacancies for a little bit. And some of the success the law department has had. We only have 3 vacancies. One of them was just 2 weeks ago. And I just want to highlight that our operations chief, Annika Barnes, has been just phenomenal. 6 weeks, her average time to fill positions. And I just want to note that we have been mindful and keeping an eye on the reduction in force, and we have brought in, it looks like, I think 2 or 3 of them already are starting. There have been reduced from the federal level that we have been able to bring into the law department. I also want to talk about and highlight our internship program, and I'm so happy that we actually have our interns behind me to witness this, some of them. I want to create, yes, it's a big deal because it's a pipeline to a legal career. And I believe in this position, it's very important to create that pipeline of Baltimore City students. And we go from high school, college, and even law school, of course. But the department continues to advocate, support, and participate in programming that helps Baltimore students all the way from high school to law school gain and maintain interest in the legal field. We actively participate in several paid and unpaid internship programs and view these opportunities as investments to future generations of Baltimore City attorneys. Now, do we have all 5? We have all 5 here. We have 5 law school students, and they are either from University of Maryland or University of Baltimore. So I just want to give them a round of applause for being here. And choosing to work with us is such a critical time. They will not be bored this summer. We have plenty for them to do. But I also want to highlight our intentionality about a program that everyone, I think, I hold near and dear to my heart, and that's the My Law Law Links program. It's a city high school students program where we have participated in. We have 2 high school students coming. And many of you all know, maybe some don't know, but my first internship was as a Baltimore City College junior, and I was an intern at the City Department of Law. I started out at the lowest position in this department, and now I lead it. And I believe that this is critical, that this program is still going on to introduce our city students to the field of law, get them interested in law at that critical age. I also want to highlight that we also have a college student that is from Baltimore but is enrolled at Yale that will be interning with us. Her mother is a Baltimore City public school teacher, came from Baltimore, and she wants to intern with us. So I just want to highlight that really quickly. Moving on. Transactions, just 2 points I want to highlight here. The percent of bill reports submitted on time. Our target was 95%. Actual 100% in fiscal year 24, 100% all across, and our target is 100% for next year as well. Percentage of clients rating services good or excellent. We've gotten 100% in 2024, and our target is 100% in 25. So we're doing well, we're doing our work on time, and we're getting good feedback. Police legal affairs. I want to highlight this. And I think this is a critical, oh no, I did it too fast. Sorry, guys. One more. There we go. So this is a critical number. Our target for fiscal year 24, this was the number of misconduct cases resolved. Our target was 200. We got to 417. That's because we had a big backlog. So that's a good thing that we doubled our number there. So we're working through that, and that's something that we're constantly working on. And the percentage of cases resolved prior to hearing, 90% was the target in 24, 96 in actual. Our target was 95%, and I think we're very close to that number. The last one, I hit it once. Okay, workers' compensation. Okay, so we look at the number of claims handled each year. As I said, they're the busiest. They handle the heaviest caseload for the law department. And you see 3,500, 3,400, 3,600, they're huge. Now, this is one that confuses even the administration, to understand this metric, the percent of yes or no issues tried and won. The reason why these percentages are so low is that we only pick like the best cases that we think that we can win, and it's really skewed towards the workers that are hurt. So that's a really hard number. So to get 46% here is just a really good number. And the number of appeals that are handled, that they're fluctuating from 109, 168, 150. So that just depends on the appeals. But this, I think this is it. So now we can open it up for questions and discussion. And again, I thank the council so much for all their support this year. You guys have been just completely supportive and involved, and I really appreciate it anytime I needed something. So thank you.
City Solicitor,
Yes, Madam Chair.
we are beyond grateful to you and your team for the work that you do. And I just want you to know that when you or your team has informed me that you were going to do something, it was done. And a lot of times that's just rare in city government, and I just want you to know that we appreciate you. We're going to start with Council President Cohen for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Solicitor Thompson. I often say that we got the baddest solicitor in the game right here in Baltimore. Your reputation precedes you, but just like our chair said, you follow through, and that makes a huge difference. I'll also say one of the things that I appreciate about you is you really care about people, which is often also not always the case in city government. Sometimes we have folks that do a great job, but don't always put the person first. And I'll just say that when you and I spent time going to Roberta's house and other places, listening to folks who had struggled with addiction or trauma, just the level of care and concern and thoughtfulness that I observed from you did not go unnoticed. So I just want to second my chair and say you are appreciated. The delivery on the opioid settlement, while we know that one case is still undecided as of yet what the final payment and judgment will be, it represents just an extraordinary commitment to justice for the people that were harmed by large pharmaceutical companies in our city. So again, I thank you for that. I want to ask specifically about workers' compensation. One of the things that this council has been really focused on is worker safety and making sure particularly our frontline sanitation workers, but really anyone that signs up to work in the city of Baltimore deserves to be able to come home safe, to be healthy, so that they can deliver great services to the residents of Baltimore. And so for my question line, I wanted to note that in fiscal 24, you processed 3,414 claims. What was the total amount the city paid out for these claims in fiscal 24? And how much have we paid out in fiscal 25 year to date?
I don't have those numbers right in front of me, but that is definitely something I can get to you, get from my practice group chief. And I know I did listen to the hearings last night, and I saw how important that was. And I do want to note that not only the law department, but Sedgwick, who's our third party vendor as well that helps us out with that, as well as the labor commissioner. We've had conversations about that, so I can get you those numbers to ensure that you have the accurate payouts for each one of those years. So 24 and 25, sir?
Yep, 24 and 25.
Yes, sir.
And with that, if Madam Chair will allow, as a data request, I would also like to know breakdown by agencies.
Okay.
If you can provide, want to understand that. And then sort of along that line, how does the law department work with risk management and agencies to make sure there's progress on just reducing the number of workers' comp claims? Like, how do we make sure if we're seeing, you know, again, we know sanitation has had a lot of people get hurt in the last 5 years. If we're seeing a trend that's going up, how do we all work together with the agency heads, with risk management, to make sure that we're stemming the tide and that we're improving safety throughout our agencies?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for that. I know that we're in constant communication with risk management. Sean K. Stanley is, you know, someone that we talk to regularly. I'll let Stephen handle the rest of that question, because I know he researched it just recently, but I know that they're in constant communication, but he can go over it in detail how that is.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Council President. And just to speak to that, I think as you know, as you'll recall, you know, the law department's charter function is, in the context of workers' comp, is fairly limited. It's really getting involved when there's disputes. But that is not, under this solicitor and under this mayor, where we have sort of seen our role to such a limited degree. We've actually been really involved, particularly around the tragedy last summer with Mr. Silver. We have been very involved with, you know, particularly DPW and also risk management, in figuring out, you know, what we like to call preventive lawyering. How can we get out in front of these issues? How can we work with the agencies to, you know, to really make sure we're not just sort of like doing the bare minimum, but we are protecting ourselves? Because obviously, at the end of the day, we want there to be fewer incidents means less work for us. You know, that's ultimately what we want to see happen, is for us to not have a role to play because there are fewer incidents. So again, I would use as an example, I think that the work that we did around heat safety with DPW, with risk management, looking at the city's processes around tracking injuries and reporting those as required by the occupational safety, MOSH, Maryland Occupational Safety and Health Agency. That's something, again, you know, not necessarily in our charter mandate role, but something that we've been very aggressive in getting involved with agencies. Our advice and opinions group worked directly with risk management, directly with DPW on improving those processes, making sure that we had all of the reporting requirements that we were that are required under state and federal law. So we have been involved in that. It's something, obviously, it's very important to the city, and we're always going to support our agencies when in any of those matters when they come up.
I appreciate that. I will note, and as you know, Ms. Salisbury, I was skeptical of some of the work with the Cohen-Maciel law firm, but I will say I thought they did a comprehensive job, and I know that you were with them every step of the way, and so appreciate the product that they produced. I thought it got to the heart of some of the issues. Also appreciate the IG for her multiple reports on the situation in sanitation, and last night got to appreciate the director for improvements that we have started to see, although there is still a very long way to go. Just quick question here, and then I'm going to stop. But when do we enlist contract firms like Cohen-Maciel? Like, what is sort of like the process by which we determine that we're going to shop something out that's dealing with a high risk issue versus when we take it in-house and do it ourselves?
That's a great question. So first, if there's conflict, so usually in police legal affairs, sometimes they're suing the officer and you're defending the officer, and also we're defending the city. So sometimes that may be a conflict, so we get them separate counsel. But also if there's a specialized issue, just in the DPW situation, we knew that they knew and dealt with this area. So that's something that they specialize in. If that's something that we don't have and we want to provide the best service to our clients, we go get it. So what we don't have in-house, we'll go get it. But that's the, you know, we look at what the matter is, and then we evaluate that as a team, and then we decide if that's something that we can handle for our clients in a way that our clients deserve at the level, or if that's something that's more specialized that we need to get a firm that specializes in that.
Understood. Thank you, Madam Solicitor. Thank you to your team. Thank you to your interns. Welcome aboard. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to first start off by saying thank you. Thank you, Ms. Thompson, Esquire. And to
Thank
the
you,
rest,
Councilman. You my councilman.
she beat me to the punch. That's what I was going to tell you all. And I just want to thank you for the incredible work you guys have done. You know, where other cities said, we'll take the settlement, you took on Big Pharma and you kicked their butts. And so thank you on behalf of the city. The return on investment that you guys get in your budget every year is probably the greatest return on investment the city will ever see. And I just want to let you guys know once again that this is from the 8th district. And so this is what we can do for you guys. If we keep hiring the best and the brightest from the 8th district. But I actually wanted to talk about the cases that your office has championed. And with that, can we go to service number 861 if possible?
Sure. Oh, you gonna control it? Okay, good. Oh, I can control it? Okay. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm already, so sorry, guys. 861, is that it?
Yes.
Controversies, yes.
You have requested additional positions to support the work, and I wanted to ask if you feel that this sufficiently supports all the work that's being done, especially with the implementations of the consumer protection investigations.
Repeat one more time, because I want to make sure you asked it the
Yes.
right way.
Yes.
Because it felt like a layup, but I wanted to make sure it was.
It's a layup. I'm asking you, how much money do you need? Do you need more money? Do you need more money?
I just had to make sure it was a layup.
It's not going to be that many easy buckets in this chamber, Madam Solicitor. Shoot your shot.
Yes. Councilman, thank you so much for that question. We believe we understand the constraints of the city, the budget, and what we're going to be facing on the federal level. We know the fight that we're going to have, and we're preparing for that. And given that budget, I think this is, we can work with it, right? But with the understanding that we have partners that we can lean on, but the hope is for us, after we get some daylight, get in a little bit better situation, the plan is to help us grow more because we only want to help the city. And the more wonderful attorneys that we can bring in and bring them into this culture where people are really, I mean, just the culture of this department just would help you out. I mean, working all times of the night, doesn't matter when I call. And to have more attorneys like that, that would be great. I think we could do more for the city, but we understand the constraints, right? And we will make it work and do the best we can, but with the help of, like I said, with partners. And if we have to pull in different, outside counsel or people to help us, just for your grace of understanding that, because sometimes we're up against a lot and people that have a lot more money than us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked, because you guys do God's work, and you need to add just one phrase towards the end of your motto, and there's no fee unless you win. And when other folks are charging 30% when they win, you guys could just take 1% off the top. I'm sure you guys will be fine. But
Woo! Is Madam CAO hearing this?
listen.
I'm just joking.
That's what
I
we
didn't plant the question. I did not plant that question.
That's what we promised the Summers. That's what they say.
We did promise the Summers that.
But on that, could you provide us with a snapshot of how the implementation of this is going? How many complaints you're currently taking in? Have you seen an uptick in complaints? And what is the length of time and resolve rate for these types of complaints?
Got it. And this is specifically for the damages claim? Is that what you're looking at, or just the lawsuits handled?
For the consumer protection.
Oh, for consumer protection. Well, we are issuing those complaints. So that's us affirmative, so we're issuing those out. We do have several other cases that will be rolling out. I can't speak about them right now because we haven't rolled them out, but we evaluate the harms that is happening with our residents. And we evaluate to see if that is violating our ordinance. And we go through a whole bunch of different metrics and evaluate that with Sarah Gross, like I said, who I promise you, she has not had a good night's sleep since January 20th, but she is getting help, and we appreciate the additional positions allocated for her. But we evaluate those claims, and if we feel that these companies, we don't care how big they are, we don't care how much money they have, if we feel that our residents are being harmed and we have a good case, we're gonna bring it.
I appreciate that answer. And I just have one more question. I saw that the metrics for the actual number of police misconduct cases resolved more than doubled from FY23 to 24. And I believe that is service number 871, if you wanted to bring that up. Can you provide additional details on this? And are the number of complaints reflective of this? Have the number of complaints increased as well?
Yes, sir, that is a great question. Thank you so much for that. We unfortunately had a backlog of misconduct cases, so this is reflecting of us trying to catch up, right? So that's why you see that huge jump from 200, even though that was our target, but the actual was 417, and that just goes to all of the hard work that people on that team have done. Police Legal Affairs is just absolutely amazing, and how they work with what they have, and they're trying to help us get through that backlog. So that's them, a product of them really just busting their butts and taking on more than what the target was to help us as a city get through these cases, because we know how critically important that is to the integrity of the police department as we're working through the consent decree. And that just shows how the law department is helping to fulfill that effort, sir.
Well, thank you for that answer. And once again, thank you for all the work that you're doing, inside, outside. Just a perfect representation of what Baltimore is, and you are a Baltimore person, which is even better. And even more importantly, you're an 8th District person. So with that being said, that is all my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
We gonna let you have it. I'm still laughing at the council president telling you to shoot your shot. Councilwoman Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you again, Madam Solicitor and your team. Really, I mean, because of Mayor Scott's and your leadership on defending the Constitution, right, which is so critical, not just for our city, but literally for the rest of the U.S., you're really leading in that. I mean, I don't see any other cities taking this lead, and when you take the lead, then everybody comes on. Like, that's a really big deal. And so the leadership, I think, you know, we back you up 110% on that. It's such a big deal. Let us know how else we can be helpful, because you're not only helping our city, you're really leading the way in defending our Constitution, our United States. So I very much appreciate that. I also appreciate all the work and the partnership that we have along the vacant property work. We're making a lot of progress. There's a lot to still work through, but I'm just grateful for that partnership, and we were able to get additional dollars for the courts, which I'm excited to talk about with the courts next week. So that's a really big deal, and so I think we'll get through it, and thanks for your help and leadership on that as well. Related to that, in controversies in the book, it talks about 2 assistant solicitor positions were annualized, and then for the vacant housing initiative. So what's the role of those 2 assistant solicitor positions? Because I thought that the interim lawyers are all in DHCD.
No, that's a great question, and thank you for highlighting that. Condemnation, that's another tool we have.
Yeah.
And that's in the law department, and we would have lost that without that funding because they were just temporary. I think it was through, was it through ARPA? Yeah, and so that would have expired. So without that, we would have lost that, and that's critical work. That's another piece. So, and that lays in the law department under our real estate section.
These lawyers are using the tool of condemnation when we're looking at a whole block approach and need to like loosen one of those houses from, I got it, yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I didn't realize that was the law department doing that and not DHCD. And so that's
We work
good.
together, though. I don't want to make it seem
No,
like
no,
that.
no, it's
yeah,
all a
we all
team.
work
No,
together,
no.
but they sit in
Yeah.
the law department. I just.
Yeah,
they
no,
sit- yeah.
I got it, totally. I
Okay.
just wasn't sure what role these particular assistant solicitors were playing. I mean, all of us are on the same team here on this regard, so I think that's really important. So thanks for clarifying that. I appreciate it. Switching to something that my colleague talked about in terms of the consumer protection side, obviously, we're very grateful for, I think I have a lot of constituents that actually work in the consumer protection side, let me just say. So, but and I'm really grateful for them, and I want to make sure that she's got support. The council passed a law to create the Consumer Protection Division and give you more power to do the work that you're doing, but also to create a separate office. And I didn't see that in the budget as to where we are in that, and that might be for the mayor's office to answer in terms of what's the impact? Is that going to move your attorneys to this office, or is the office going to be sort of the, how's that going to work?
That's a great question. So the office is going to be separate.
Okay.
That the subpoena powers for the law department, for the solicitor, we're still going to bring those lawsuits. But in terms of the business licensing and things like that, and suspending the licenses, we're going to have a whole board that's going to be completely separate, that does not sit in the law department. So that is completely separate. This is just to help us in terms of the litigation piece of bringing those lawsuits and helping to evaluate those lawsuits and man those lawsuits once we file them, to be able to get the critical data that we need to win them, and so that we can actually get something for those efforts. But we still have to evaluate claims. We have a lot of things that we're looking at in terms of to see if they're strong enough to move forward. And then once we do, we have to have the manpower, woman power to actually get it done. So that's all within the
Okay.
That's all within the law department. That has nothing to do with the larger.
With the office?
Yes.
Okay, so, but there might be some interplay, though, because there may be, somebody who, there's a licensed business and is not doing what they're supposed to, or we have some, we're seeing complaints about some particular company that it wasn't on your radar, but it came on
Yes.
their radar, and they may refer to you. That's kind of how that interchange would work?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely, 100%. We're all working for the same goal. It's just that the housing, right? Just like with vacant housing, condemnation sits there, but they still work with DHCD.
Yeah.
But it just sits somewhere else. But absolutely, Sarah and her team will be working completely with that office to ensure that we're communicating, because they may see some things that we don't see,
Got it.
and they may highlight it where it's a case that we did not look at, that maybe we can look at and evaluate, and then bring a case, not only just losing that license, but also bring an actual case, depending on how far-reaching that harm is, how many residents have been harmed, and how continuous is that, right? And so we just have to do that evaluation, but we can only do that if we're working together, especially with the limited resources that we have. So yes, ma'am, we will absolutely be working together.
Yeah, I would imagine that it wouldn't be cases just on businesses that are licensed, but there would be some, enforcement of, I can think of a number of things that, may come up. ABC Capital, for instance, that would be
Let me
lovely
write that down.
to get a hold of them. But I think that's critical. Okay, well, I have a couple other questions, but I'll yield for my colleagues until the next round. Thanks a lot, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Jones?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Madam City Solicitor, for all the work you do representing the city.
Thank you, sir.
Just wondering if you can expand on something really quickly. Often when the city and your team's under litigation for, whatever reason or because of something, often we as a council, even as a city, probably shouldn't talk about it because of the impacts it may have on the litigation. But often residents may have questions, concerns. It could still be a topic of the city. Can you talk about that balance of why it's important and why it may not be in the best interest of the city to speak on these things while you're in the process of the litigation?
That's an excellent question, and thank you so much for that. So the issue is that if we speak on certain things, because when we sue under the mayor and city council. So if city council says something or the mayor says something, that could possibly be used against us in that case. So we ask to defer to the law department so that if there are any official statements that we can give the official statements and you can echo those official statements, and also just say it's active litigation. It's not that we don't want to answer your question, but we are going to answer it in the appropriate judicial forum. And we encourage people to actually follow the cases. A lot of the questions that they have, especially with opioids, if they came to trial, they would know a lot of the answers to these questions. So it's just the appropriate form. We want to make sure that we're doing it the right way, especially when the law department has invested so much time and research into bringing these cases. We don't want to do anything to jeopardize them before we have our due date in court. So I hope that's helpful, sir.
Yep, thank you for bringing that to light and answering that question. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We're going back to Councilwoman Ramos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had some questions about every so often I have something that needs to go before the BOE, and it's not just me, it's other people, and they say, well, it's stuck in the law department for review. And I'm wondering, what that, if you've also heard those things and how some of those efficiencies are being taken care of so that we can get things through the BOE in a more efficient manner. So, I mean, we want you to make sure it's all legal, and you need to take the time to do that. I get that. And I think that some of the agencies have their own people that are looking at it. I'm thinking of one specific case. But so how are you, if you get those kinds of complaints and you're working through that, are we seeing improvements in that regard? Do you have metrics that you're working on to get a specific review in a certain time frame?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have heard infrequently those complaints, and usually what happens is the agency has last minute just sent it over to the law department after they've held it, and then they say it's with the law department.
I realize that doesn't
but I can assure you, our contracts team, Michael Schrock, our practice group chief, he's all over it. And as soon as he gets it, the contracts team is one of probably the most efficient teams, and they have to review all of those contracts before they go before the Board of Estimates. But if anything is raised to my level, I immediately send an email out to him, and I'll usually get the full story.
Right.
And either way, it usually gets resolved. So I do encourage you to look a little bit, just ask them, when did you give it to the law department when you hear that? And that answer may shock you sometimes.
Right. No, from the specific case I'm thinking about took an entire year, and that was a lot of people's.
Oh,
Yeah.
Stephen, go ahead.
Yeah, and there's a couple things I want to add to that. One is, and this is like actually, it's an issue that we've seen come up a bunch. This is actually like a byproduct of the way BOE Submit is laid out, where there are oftentimes we get questions where there is something in BOE Submit that indicates that it needs a law department approval, even though we've already approved it. That's something that sometimes we can just sort of troubleshoot with the comptroller's office. But otherwise, I would agree with everything the solicitor said. Our contracts group is incredibly responsive, and if you or anyone else ever is, feels like there's any delay, just let us know. But I did want to just flag that one issue, because a lot of times that comes up, people raise this to us and say, hey, where is this in law? And it's like, this isn't actually sitting in law, so it is.
Right, I think the issue, the wording is it's in legal, and then it depends on what does that actually mean.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's you. It could be that somebody else's lawyers, right? So,
Yeah, you've been here long enough. You know how it goes
I
sometimes.
get it. No, I understand. We always have to dig a little deeper when those kinds of things happen. But I also know that if you do get it, you'll try to figure out where it's stuck. It's not just defending yourselves, but like figuring out where it's actually stuck.
Yeah, but if you really need something, like I said, you just, once you escalate it to me, I'll find out where it is and what the true story is behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My second item is obviously, the staff that we interact with the most are those that help us with the builds with our legislation. And I think they've been very thorough. And I do think, and this is true for basically every agency, we do sometimes get the bill reports kind of late. It's better now. They've been doing a better job. And I just want to make sure that, and I think this is something we need to think about, with all of the agencies, not just law, and I'm just thinking about law because you're here. I have a bill last year that I put in that, didn't get any bill reports, but I didn't move it forward. But we probably should have gotten bill reports anyway, because then I'm about to introduce it again, but I have since I went to the law department directly saying, hey, let me know what you thought about last year's bill. And, now I have to make a bunch of other changes to it. So I think what we want to do, and this is something we can talk about with the council president's office and the mayor's office and all the agencies, is just to, if we have a bill, we should get a report right away, like within the 30-day window that we have in in our rules, because that'll help us if we move forward with it, or if there's changes that need to be made. That would super help us. So just something to put together, and I'll talk to Hillary about it. I think she's great in this regard, so just wanted to flag that as something that we can work on moving forward.
Absolutely, we'll bring it up with her. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's something that we have to do, is also ask for those reports, but it's not in our rules. It says that the reports will come. So what we want to do is just make sure that that's coordinated, so that, I now have to go back and figure out some things on this one bill. So I think, but that's it. I mean, I think that, everybody's doing a great job. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think that's all I had, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. See, Solicitor, what did we say earlier? Thank you to your team. Thank you to you, obviously, and also thank you to your wonderful interns. We'll be back at 2:30 with DGS.